What is up with it, everybody? We are live from the studios of WIUR here at Iona University and broadcasted across multiple platforms around the world. I am Cameron Woolley. I'll be keeping you company for the next hour, bringing you the best and only the best sports on campus. So I just want to lead off with, the big talk of town lately, the New York Football Giants. Now, over the years, it's been very stagnant. No, there's been a little bit of not a little bursts of energy here and there, but last week, what I saw on Sunday was, in my opinion, one of their more significant wins since Super Bowl 46 because this organization went through one of the biggest changes, in my opinion, since George Young took over in 1979 and ended up building the great team that we are all familiar with. And everyone's excited. Started 1-0, and we should be. A new coach, new GM, the new organizational philosophy. We've been waiting for the New York Giants to seemingly join the 21st century, to join the 2020s for years. And now with Joe Shane and Brian Dable coming in from Buffalo, and we've seen them be very successful, including in week one. We saw them beat the defending Super Bowl champs pretty convincingly. And Giants fans, we are very excited to see what a slice of that could be. A little bit of that think tank coming over here and building something similar to that. And it's great. A winning record at any point for the first time since 2016. Now, this is one of my favorite factoids to throw out because since the last time the Giants had a winning record in 2016, there have been two presidents that have been elected since that time. Obviously, in 2016, Donald Trump got elected, and then throughout the entire Trump administration, the Giants never had a winning record once. And then, obviously, he lost his reelection to Joe Biden. Again, not trying to get political, but it's just to illustrate a passage of time for all of you. So, yeah, something that is quite frankly uncharted territory for Giants fans, especially Giants fans who are in kindergarten now, who are around 5 years old, have never seen the Giants have a winning record up until this point. So it's very exciting. Just want to say some things about that game against Tennessee, that very enthralling and thrilling win. Saquon Barkley, obviously the NFC Offensive Player of the Week, looked honestly the best he's looked since his rookie year. And in that second half, he took over that game in a way that I have not seen in a long time, and honestly, a part of him that I never thought I'd see ever again. So that is a very pleasant surprise to see Saquon Barkley going back to doing what he is very capable of doing and what he has shown that he is capable of doing ever since he was drafted second overall in 2018 as one of the most can't miss running back prospects to come out of the draft in like all time. If you think about it, like there was so much hype surrounding Barkley, and then he got drafted, and then there was then his rookie year, which was amazing, and then his second year he got hurt, which stunk. And then he sort of came back at the end, sort of showed what he could do. Then in 2020, got hurt, came back, didn't look the same. And then in 2021, he got hurt again and never looked the same. So just a lot of concern coming into this year for Barkley. It seemed like he was a lost cause. He was going to be playing against a improved on paper, but still very paper mache offensive line, if you will, even with the very good performances of Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal, who I am very excited to see this year. I'm excited to see the progression of those two tackles. Those two guys allowed only one pressure. This per Pro Football Focus, and this is one of their stats that I don't find to be garbage. Only one pressure for each of Andrew Thomas and Evan Neal in over 30 pass blocking snaps for each of them. I don't have the exact number, but I know that it was over 30 pass blocking reps where they only allowed one pressure. in in pass protection. So very nice to see there. Obviously, the other three guys leave a lot to be desired in pass protection, but just it's a work in progress. This team and Saquon Barkley, seeing him back to what I didn't think he could be is very encouraging and is very exciting. A very exciting prospect to think about Saquon Barkley being the game-changing player he can be, and he took over that game in the second half. Like, they relied on him. And speaking of second half, the halftime adjustments. Brian Daboll, a New York Giants head coach, made halftime adjustments. Now, think about when was the last time we've seen the Giants respond with a game plan in the second half to help a team come back and win, especially down 2 possessions? Because in years past because, like, Ben McAdoo surely never did it, Pat Shermer never did it, and Joe Judge never did it. When this team was down by a couple of scores at halftime, that typically meant that they would lay down and lose by around 4 or 5. Someone on the other team would win someone his fantasy game, and it would be just a terrible watch. But the Giants, and to Brian Daboll's credit, coaching means a lot in football. It doesn't mean a lot in other sports, like baseball, basketball. The coaching doesn't mean that much in those sports, but in football, it definitely means a lot. And that game on Sunday really showed how much coaching can do for a team, especially a roster that honestly isn't good. Like, this roster, it is again very much a work in progress, and I'm going to be saying that a lot this year about the Giants. It is a work in progress, and Brian Daboll went in the halftime against a very good football team. I will give Tennessee their credit. They finished as the 1 seed in the AFC, and they were ironically enough, a uh, field goal that was made by Evan McPherson away from going to the AFC Championship and hosting it before they would probably be beaten by the Kansas City Chiefs. But that's besides the point. A really good team in Tennessee. Brian Daboll took that incomplete roster and came up with a game plan that helped them rally down 2 scores and win. And that is such a huge deal. And honestly, I was happy with the way they played in that second half, even before Randy Bullock missed the field goal. Sure, the defensive holding penalties on Darnay Holmes, each of them coming on 3rd and 4s that would have set up a potentially game-ending 4th down stop. But again, I'm kind of used to the whole self-inflicted wounds that lead to this team losing the game. But I was happy with the way they played. When Bullock was lining up for that field goal, I was like, okay, you know what? This is a sign that things are going to change around here. And then he missed it, and I was like, ah! But it was great. And there's buzz surrounding the Giants for the first time in a while, which this area and sport needs. Football is always healthier when the Giants or Jets are good. Maybe, although neither of those teams have been good in quite a while, but again, football's healthier when the New York teams are good. So I just want to talk about week 2 because, again, believe it or not, this team still has 16 more games left to play, and these are 16 very important games that need to be played, and they're going to tell a lot about this team. They're going up against the Carolina Panthers. Carolina coming off a brutal loss against Cleveland, which ironically came on a game-winning field goal instead of a miss. But again, Carolina shouldn't be taken lightly. Christian McCaffrey, when he is healthy, which is not very often, he is a problem. He is very much a problem. And they have good receivers. They have Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore, guys who can exploit the weak coverage on this defense. Aaron Robinson recently had to have his appendix taken out, and Aaron Robinson, who had a quietly good game on Sunday, only was targeted 4 times and only gave up 2 catches for around like 33 yards. I think he was very good, and he's being taken out of this lineup. And these good receivers can really do some damage on Baker Mayfield. He was sort of forced out of Cleveland, with injuries and stuff that was out of his control. But Still a very capable quarterback who can make some plays and make some good throws that Daniel Jones can't make. The overall Panthers, not a very good team, but they will give a very raw roster some issues. In regards to the Giants and the personnel front, Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari probably won't be back. They were limited in practice, but things can change leading up to a game. We have seen players play on certain. Well, I don't want Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari to play on injuries. That would just be bad for the future. But these guys can come in. I'm not completely ruling it out, but for the sake of preparing for the worst, I'm going to say that Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez Ojulari probably will not be playing in this game, which is unfortunate for a front four that didn't generate anything in regards to pressure on the quarterback. Like Ryan Tannehill could have a siesta in there last week, and he could have still completed a pass for a 15-yard first down. Although they did do well against the run as a positive, Derrick Henry, a very, very dangerous force, and the Giants, they neutralized them. And that's honestly the way to beat Tennessee. You neutralize Derrick Henry, and you make Ryan Tannehill beat you with his arm, and most of the time, you can't. Kadarius Toney should be phased into this offense a little more, which can create a lot of issues for Carolina. It can create a lot of issues for some very good defenses. In the 3 touches he had last week, he made something out of nothing. I remember he turned what could have been a 5-yard loss on an end around into a 5-yard gain, and then he took another end around for a screen pass or something else into a first down when he dodged like 5 guys. And Toney, he is a very, very, very crucial piece in this offense if they want to see any results this year, which for the record, I'm not expecting many results, but if they want to see results, they should absolutely trust Kadarius Toney to make plays, which we know he can make, and plays that he has made in his unfortunately limited reps. And Toney, especially with the pre-snap motion play designs that Brian Dable loves. We saw that in Buffalo last year, and we even see that in Buffalo this year. Constantly guys moving in motion, fluid pre-snap stuff to keep a defense on their toes. A very good defense last week was kept on their toes and was cracked a bit. Allowed 21 points in the second half to an offense that really utilized the athleticism in the limited amount of playmakers that they had and the play design and moving guys around. And it's beautiful to see. And Kadarius Toney is a guy who fits perfectly into Brian Dable's mold of an offense, which would be very, very fun to watch. Saquon Barkley will attract more attention. Obviously, we did 194 yards from scrimmage. You got to figure Matt Rule and whoever the defensive coordinator is in Carolina. I'm blanking on that one. They're probably game planning for Saquon Barkley to be a game-changing threat in this game, which will open up a lot more things in the passing game. Again, going back to Kadarius Toney, you have Saquon Barkley attracting a lot of attention. Defensive backs, a lot of eyes in the backfield. Daniel Jones, he can show off that deep ball, which is very underrated still. He can throw that deep ball to receivers that would be wide open in busted coverage, and can very much a big plays win football games. It's not hard to I'm blanking on the word. It's not hard to conceive in your head. Big plays do win football games, especially on the deep ball, especially nowadays where you have guys like Mahomes and Allen throwing balls that travel like 60 yards in the air. And if you have a guy like Saquon Barkley who can attract the attention of defensive backs and safeties who will play some soft zone coverage and will keep their eyes in the backfield, we could have some plays like Sterling Shepard's touchdown last week where a receiver, goes on a little go route and ends up in that little hole in the zone, and Jones can just drop one in there for a very large gain. And another week should help this offensive line gel and play a bit better than they did last week. which again, honestly, atrocious and pass blocking aside from Thomas and Neal, who again each allowed one pressure and pass blocking reps over 30 snaps. So it'll be interesting to see how they progress. I mean, it shouldn't take a lot for for this offensive line to see improvement because they allowed pressure in over 50% of dropbacks by Daniel Jones. When Daniel Jones took a snap, there was over a 50% chance that he would face pressure from a four-man front, which that is very dangerous and is not a way that not even Daniel Jones can operate, but did not even like Josh Allen or Tom Brady could operate in that. So this offensive line should absolutely improve and step up their game if they do want to win this and start 2-0 for the first time since, again, 2016. And if the Giants want to really make a big statement and really cement themselves as sort of a sleeper team that can come up and get people by surprise, if they want to, they win this game by a couple of scores. It has to be over with at least 5 minutes left on the clock. I need to have a resting heart rate by that time in the game if the Giants are to make a big statement and cement themselves as a team that catches everyone by surprise. They need to go out there and win a game, and they got to win it by a few points. They got to win it by a lot of points if they want the rest of the league to take them seriously. So honestly, if I were to give a prediction for this game, you're going to learn that I am a very cynical sports fan. Like, if you have watched any of my material in the past, obviously on my podcast, on the Cameron Woolley Show, or on my blog, CamWooleyShow.com, you will find that I am very pessimistic and I am very glass half empty when it comes to my sports teams. And I am going to be honest. I'm going to say, with all the signs pointing toward the Giants winning this game, I think they lose because I'm keeping my guard up with these guys. I always do. Because they're the Giants. They haven't given me a lot to trust over the years. And this is great. This week 1 win, this offseason, it was great. Again, a lot of excitement. Walked to class on a Monday morning in September in a great mood. I cannot even remember the last time that happened. But I do expect the Giants to lose this game. I'm not going to say I expect them to get rolled over because I do think they are going to put up a fight. I think this offense is capable of scoring actually 20 points a game, which I know the Giants scoring 20 points in the game, that's crazy. But things are different. I don't expect them to win, but things are different. No progress. Sorry, no progress. The process will lead to progress, which will hopefully lead to positive results in the future. So that'll be all for my Giants stuff. I just want to talk about just random stuff that happened in week 1 in football. Can anyone make a field goal? Like, that was something that I saw. I was watching Red Zone with a few of my buddies, and we were watching the Steelers Bengals game, and one of my friends is a Steelers fan, and when 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 Chris Boswell and Evan McPherson were trading missed or blocked field goals in the fourth quarter and overtime, it was one of the most baffling things I've ever seen. And I know that these guys are professionals and things happen, but you gotta wonder how NFL kickers miss field goals. You gotta think about that. Like, these guys who are paid to kick a ball through a couple of uprights and they miss field goals. No, I get it. No, they're not robots. If they were robots, then they'd make field goals every time. Actually, if they were robots, they'd be something other than a kicker. That's no, Tom Brady's a robot and he's a quarterback. So, again, kickers, it's always strange whenever kickers, like, across the league, have weeks where they can't make field goals. Again, the Steelers Bengals game, the Giants Titans game that ended on a missed field goal. I know there were a couple of other games this week that had some nasty misses, but but overall a very funny week, a very eventful week 1 in the NFL. Another thing that I want to wrap up with football is on the I was watching the Monday night game, toward the end, Russell Wilson's Broncos debut in Seattle, week 1, Monday Night Football. Joe Buck and Troy Aikman's first game on an ESPN broadcast. It was a huge deal. And Russell Wilson, he was coming in. They were fumbling the ball at the 1-yard line. And I'm not going to blame Russell Wilson for this. But Nathaniel Hackett made some of the worst late game and clock management decisions I have ever seen from a head coach. And this is coming from somebody who has seen back to back to back terrible head coaches who made some pretty bad in-game decisions. But some of these moves, like 4th and 5, you pay a quarterback $250 million and you attempt a 64-yard field goal in an area that doesn't have very generous weather in Seattle. I get that Brandon McManus has one of the strongest legs in football, and I believe he previously held the record for longest field goal ever kicked before Justin Tucker broke it last year. But you attempt a 64-yard field goal, which, granted, to McManus's credit, had the distance, but it went wide left. And on 4th and 5, you're going to go out there in a late game with a quarterback that you paid $250 million. You are not going to trust the quarterback that you gave $250 million to get 5 yards with 3 timeouts. Or I think it was either 3 or 2. Regardless, they had opportunities to stop the clock if the play on 4th down went over the middle of the field and the receiver did not have a chance to get out of bounds. You're going to go out there and put that elite quarterback on the bench and have a kicker go out there, very good kicker, try and kick a 64-yard field goal, which that would seem like the worst of it. But it got worse. On the preceding kneel downs that Geno Smith and the Seattle Seahawks took to end the game, Nathaniel Hackett burnt 2 of his timeouts on the kneel downs. I don't think I have ever seen that outside of Madden. That is literally what the AI in Madden does at the end of a game when you're up by 60 points and you're kneeling the clock away. That is what the Madden AI does at the end of a game when you're kneeling the clock down. And it gets really annoying. And I guarantee Seattle was annoyed. I guarantee Pete Carroll went up to Hackett after the game and was like, dude, what's your problem? We already won the game. What do you think? Dude, Joe Pisarcik isn't a quarterback back there. He's not going to fumble the kneel down. And your guy, like Bradley Chubb, isn't going to recover it and run it all the way back for a game-winning touchdown. Like, that doesn't happen. Now, sure, in history, it has happened. Again, I just referenced the miracle at the Meadowlands with Joe Pisarcik in the 70s, where he infamously fumbled I don't know if it was a kneel down, because I don't think kneel downs were a thing in the 70s, but he fumbled what would have been a handoff that would have ended the game. And it was run back by, I forgot the guy's name. It was something Edwards, probably. And it ran back for a touchdown. But that I think that's the last time that has ever happened. So just very funny stuff. Like, I was baffled when I saw that. And again, I've seen some very bad coaching across the Giants and the Jets. But that was bad. Very bad. So that'll do it for my little football segment. We're going to talk a lot of baseball. Most predominantly New York Yankees. You'll find that I talk Giants and Yankees a lot. And for the next month, I'm going to be talking a lot of Yankees until the offseason because, September, it's a big pennant race. Playoffs are coming up. Very intense, high leverage games for the Yankees. And they are 7-2 in their last 9 games. They got huge series wins against their tenant, the Minnesota Twins. and the Tampa Bay Rays, along with a big win against Boston last night. A heart attack game where, it came down to the final strike and Rafael Devers whiffed on an outside curveball. Or not an outside curveball, a slider outside of the strike zone with a runner on second. A base hit would have tied the game, and God forbid a home run would have won it. But anyways, a win is a win is a win. The standings don't care how you get the win. You won the game. And that win got the AL East lead to 6 games with only 20 games left on the schedule. So a favorable position for the Yankees. Again, not as favorable as the gigantic 15.5 game lead that they had in July. That I am still rather irritated at the fact that this is even a discussion in the middle of September. That, oh, well, if this happens and this happens and this happens, the Yankees are going to lose the AL East, which is very possible. This team is very hot and cold, but there are some guys that are hot right now. Guys that are performing again. Since September 4th, Gleyber Torres, the much scorned Gleyber Torres, who has been cold for a month, since September 4th, is slugging .529 with a 140 weighted runs created plus. For those people who don't know what WRC plus is, it's basically a stat that encompasses offense, and the average, like league average, is 100, and above or below that, like think of it as percentage points. Like Gleyber Torres since September 4th has a 140 WRC plus. That means he is 40% more productive than the league average hitter. Josh Donaldson has an OPS of exactly 1,000 with a 198 WRC plus. And Giancarlo Stanton, since September 5th, is slugging .629 with a 181 WRC plus. So 3 very crucial parts of this lineup. Again, Donaldson is not a guy I want to see in there, but he's going to be in there in October. Can't really do anything about that. Might as well hope that the guy gets hot in the late season, and hopefully he can provide a couple of big hits in October. LeMahieu, DJ LeMahieu, Anthony Rizzo, Harrison Bader, Luis Severino, and Zach Britton. All of these guys are expected due back at some point very soon. In the next week or two, we're gonna see Rizzo. Might see LeMahieu. We're gonna see Bader. We're gonna see Severino, and we're probably gonna see Britton. So the cavalry is still very much coming. I don't like that they're relying on guys coming back from injuries again in October. That's not a formula that typically wins games. It doesn't win championships. Think about the NBA. I mean, think about the other team that is broadcasted on the network that the Yankees own, the Brooklyn Nets. They went out there with a couple years ago, and they came close to beating the eventual champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, but they relied on the big 3. I'm sure we all know the big 3 are Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. All those guys coming back who have barely had any playing time together, coming back for a playoff run. And they went on a little run, made it to the second round, but not what they expected. The season ended in disappointment. And again, the Nets relied on a big 3 coming back healthy and getting in tune during the playoffs, like come back and hit the ground running, which I know that does happen sometimes in sports, but it's not a smart way, or it's not a good process when it comes to winning championships. And I'm not going to go on some tangent about how analytics are bad. I just cited weighted runs created plus and OPS and slugging percentage. I didn't bring up batting average once in that argument. So I'm not going to go on a rant about analytics, but I do think that trusting guys to come back from injuries close to a potential playoff run is not a smart process when it comes to winning a championship. And what I am saying about guys coming back, don't take the foot off the gas in any circumstance. It is what got us in this very tense situation in the first place. And we're in a very good spot now. But with every win, every time you go out there, play your best lineup. I want to see Oswald Peraza playing every night. But again, that's sort of a moot point. The Yankees aren't going to play Peraza at short every night, despite how many ground balls that Kiner-Falefa boots in front of him. And we're going to see Donaldson at third. So the left side of the infield is a moot point. But you're going to go out there and you're going to play the best lineup that you're going to come up in your little warped mindset over who the best players on this team are. You're not going to rest anybody. You better not be resting Aaron Judge right now with what he's on pace to do. Imagine they rest him. Think about how that's going to come up in contract talks this offseason. But don't take your foot off the gas. For the love of everything that is good and holy, do not take your foot off the gas this month. Because again, every win makes a good situation even better. No, speaking of Judge, I might just want to go on a little tangent about this. I've been seeing some stuff on this stupid thing right here about the supposed AL MVP debate. I'm sorry, how exactly is the 2022 AL MVP award a debate? Because Ohtani is great. I get it. Shohei Ohtani, great baseball player, unicorn, something we haven't seen since Babe Ruth. But Judge is having one of the only seasons in MLB history that could top what Ohtani is doing. He is carrying a Yankee team that got freezing cold all at once for 2 months. He has been doing this. His last 51 games, he is batting .379 with a .513 on-base percentage and slugging .870. Comprehend that. He is slugging .870 over a substantial sample size with 26 home runs. That averages out to just over 1 home run every other game. He is doing this with a .277 WRC plus with 5.5 wins above replacement in 51 games. That is over 1 win above replacement compiled every 10 games. That is how valuable Judge has been to this team over the last couple of months. So you want to talk about valuable? You want to talk about, Shohei Ohtani's 2 players in 1? Imagine where the Yankees would be right now without Judge. Think about it. It would turn up. They've been bad enough the last couple of months with Judge hitting the way he has. Imagine subtracting that and bringing up, I don't know, some random whomstuff in the minor leagues, replacing him with Aaron Hicks. Imagine how awful this team would be if Aaron Hicks was getting Aaron Judge's at-bats. The last couple of months, I don't think this team wins a game without Judge in this lineup the last 2 months. I'm being serious. They could contend for the longest losing streak in baseball history because even during that bad stretch where the Yankees would gasp for air, get a couple of wins, it was because Judge would hit like 2 home runs and get a bases clearing double all in the same game. And certain bozos on Twitter like Ben Verlander have the audacity to say that Shohei Ohtani deserves to win over Aaron Judge. Now I'm going to bring you a list of players to finish a season with at least a .300 batting average and over 60 home runs because Judge is likely to finish with a .300 batting average and 60 home runs at minimum. Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, and Sammy Sosa. On one hand, I can count the guys in big league history who are doing or who did what Judge is on pace to do. And mind you, Ruth did this when the average fastball was around 70 miles per hour, and Bonds and Sosa were juiced so much that their HGH levels could be detected on a breathalyzer. And we're talking about wins above replacement. No, F4. The F4 gap between Judge and Ohtani is the same gap in player value. The stat that quantifies player value. The same gap between Judge and the supposed MVP to a concerning amount of fans is the same gap between Yordan Alvarez, one of the best hitters in the majors, and Nico Horner, who's a fine player, but he's nowhere close to Yordan Alvarez. And on top of all of this, He is on he is one hot stretch away from grabbing the triple crown. Just how much more convincing do you need that Judge is the MVP? I mean, there are a bunch of other stats. I guarantee I could open up Twitter right now and I will see another crazy stat from Aaron Judge. Okay, it's just another garbage. Well, it's Twitter. What do you expect? But yeah, I'm sorry. I would love to have a legit conversation with someone who thinks Shohei Ohtani is the AL MVP because I can't. Like the only argument that you can come up with is like, oh, well, he pitches. Like, yeah, Otani's doing something historic, but Judge is doing something that even less players have done. He is in a more exclusive club than a guy who is pitching and hitting at a very high level. Think about that. Any other year, Otani would run away with MVP. But Judge is on pace to he could make a case for the greatest season in the history of a franchise that has had Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Reggie Jackson, Don Mattingly, Alex Rodriguez, and Derek Jeter suit up for them. He could potentially finish with a better season than all of the Hall of Fame caliber guys that I just mentioned. And apparently, that's not enough to win MVP. I don't care how well Ohtani pitches. He can pitch 3 no-hitters in perfect games, Maddoxes, for the rest of the year. I don't care. Judge is the MVP. Oh, man. And when it comes to his contract, I mean, like, oh, dude. I mean, he is going to get what he wants. He's having the greatest walk year in MLB history. And I mean, I am going to say this in terms that Hal Steinbrenner will understand, in the context of what Hal Steinbrenner really wants from this franchise. Look at go to a game. Like I'm sure you sit in your little press box with your shrimp cocktails and your filet mignons and really expensive champagne. But look at the stands. The people who essentially pay for all of the luxuries, all your yachts, and pay your bondholders. Look at how many of them are wearing Aaron Judge jerseys. Think about that. That is money that they spent that goes into your pocket. Think about the Yes Network. Think about how many people are tuning in to Yankee games for the sole reason to watch this historic season from Aaron Judge. Think about TV ratings. Those make you money. Ad revenue. Advertisers will pay more for a larger audience that was accumulated from Aaron Judge. And again, he is making you so much money. I don't think there is any player in Yankee history other than Derek Jeter or maybe like Mickey Mantle, adjusted for inflation, who has made the New York Yankees this much cold, hard cash. And Hal Steinbrenner, if you let that go, you are letting go of the biggest source of income that this team is going to have for decades. Because unlike Jeter, you're not going to have another guy like Judge who's going to come in and seemingly fill the shoes as fluently and as easily as he has. All the while playing like a superstar. Judge is the best player in baseball this year in the biggest market in the world, making you so much money. You are not going to simply get that from Jason Dominguez, and I love Dominguez as a prospect. As much as I love Anthony Volpe, you're not going to get that from him. you are not going to get anywhere close to the financial gains, the revenue that you have gotten from Judge and would potentially get from Judge if you make the 300 something $1 million investment in any other of these homegrown guys who you can manipulate the service time of for decades. And that'll about do it for my first little go on this studio again. I'd like to thank the club of WIUR. I'd like to thank obviously the people who've helped me on my career, have gotten me to this stage. I'd like to thank Ming Chen down at the Shared Universe back home in New Jersey. I'd like to thank Voyagers Community School for fostering this skill set and career. And yeah, I'd like to thank all of you for tuning in. And yeah, I don't know what else to say. I've never done an outro here before. No, if you like flame me out, I don't know. I got Cam in that room over there again. Thanks, Cam, the producer. So yeah, I guess I don't have an outro for this yet, but I'll come up with one. So anyways, from the studios of WIUR at the La Penta Student Union at Iona University, I am Cameron Woolley, and I guess stay classy, New Rochelle.